Oh, hey, friends. Welcome into the Sandbox. How many of you, by a show of hands, would say that you've like gone through and investigated something that you really wanted for your business or for your team and you got it? And when it arrived, you ordered it and you had it designed and it was all amazing. And then when it showed up, it didn't actually match your expectation. Kind of like people, right? Like we hire people that way. And then we train them and we think, wait, the training didn't work. What happened? They were the best at the interview. I trained them because I saw their potential. And then like the end result wasn't what I thought. So why am I sharing that with you? Because it's really about why training fails. You've educated minds on your team, but yet we never moved the behavior. And so our outcome tends to be not what we thought it was going to be. That's why training fails. Organizations spend billions with a B every year. Don't even know what the latest number is because it changes so quickly. Trying to fix leadership problems. We're talking hundreds of billions of dollars to try to fix leadership problems. Training programs, workshops, leadership retreats. Everyone's taking notes. They're all talking about heads are nodding. We're engaged. We give them, have them scan a little QR code at the end of it to say, hey, how was this training today? And oh yeah, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. Or I'm giving it a 3 out of 5 because, the room was too cold and you didn't serve Coca-Cola products. And you served Pepsi and I don't drink Pepsi, for all those random reasons, right? That people give bad reviews. And then Monday happens, right? Because Mondays and or Tuesday happened because the training was on a Monday. The same behaviors that we wanted the training to correct show up in meetings. The same tension between coworkers shows up by noon on the day after or the week after the training. The same problems because why? Because no one addresses the problems directly. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Most training doesn't fail because the content is bad. It fails because it educates minds, but never moves behaviors. I was just talking with an executive about, the joys and the wants and the desires of developing leaders. And for a company that had not had a true leadership development program. And they went with a program that was off the shelf and, out of the box, and this is going to help. But when I asked, so what are the behaviors you're wanting to correct? Well, the leader couldn't answer that because so often, like 9.5 times out of 10, we're not actually employing people to come in to address behaviors with the training. We just want to check the box that we provided the leadership training. So it fails, the trainings fail because it educates minds, but doesn't actually move behavior because we don't identify the behavior. So today in the Sandbox, after I go through my whole thing about why training fails, we're going to talk about why that training alone almost never changes workplace behavior and what leaders want to do instead. Because otherwise, you're going to end up with something that looks like it plays the part, but it doesn't work. So research on training transfers, right? Let's talk about training transferring. There's a trainer coming in with an excellent amount of information and they're transferring that knowledge to the participants that are sitting in the classroom. And what it shows is that most training never translates into behavior change. It's just an information transfer. People learn concepts, but not the application. And behavior won't change because learning happened, because learning isn't the same thing as action. And we all know the things that we, quote, should do, even though I like to say don't should all over yourself. But exercise, like we want to exercise regularly, have honest conversations in the workplace, give feedback sooner. All of those things are things that we know we ought to do in the workplace as leaders managing others. But knowing doesn't actually equal doing. How many times have you seen that show up? You can watch a sports team and go, oh, dude knew what play was called, but he made a split-second decision and did something different, and either it worked or it didn't work. It's great when it does, but it sucks when it doesn't. Your workplace is the same way. Behavior changes when the system that you have put in place reinforces it. And here's where leaders unknowingly undermine their own training. A team attends a communication workshop because one of the top 3 search terms and one of the top 3 areas that we invest some money into or that come back on the engagement surveys from your employees is that communication doesn't work here. So we're going to have a communication workshop. Great. But when conflict shows up in a meeting, leadership avoids it because why? Because the communication workshop training didn't teach people how to actually confront their own fear and address the conflict in the room. We don't know how to do that and feel safe. We haven't created psychologically safe environments. So what's the team learn? That the training didn't matter, that the company spent a lot of money on training and no one's actually changing the behaviors. Heard that before. Behavior beats PowerPoint every time, meaning modeling a behavior like we talked about last week, actually beats you the PowerPoint presentation and the pretty pictures or the powerful quotes that you have every single time. Training is there to introduce ideas, and leadership must enforce the standard. They need to set that. The training comes in to set it, but then they model it and they enforce the standard. Without that reinforcement, training becomes corporate theater, and you spend a lot of money for an off-the-shelf book to train people out of, or go online and watch course number 72 and you're going to learn how to have, difficult conversations. Again, I can learn it, but when I'm not able to model it or there's no one, we're not actually internalizing it, it's not going to work. It looks productive, but it changes nothing. So your programs that you're spending all this money into is probably changing not the things that you want, but making people feel more disengaged and uncomfortable and upset, frustrated in your workplace because we say we're doing it, but then leaders aren't modeling it. And the activities and the actions that we have are not actually aligning to what we say that we want. So if the behavior on your team isn't working, it's time for you to lead it differently. And that's why we have brought in the Command Leadership Behavior Operating System, because I have watched it for years. And I love to say, take the issues off the personality and talk about the behavior and address the behavior with the clarity of an expectation of what you want and by when you want it, so that people know what's expected and then you follow up with that. I don't like it when I hear people get put on performance improvement plans and there's then no follow-up, but I'm supposed to check back in 30 days and tell you, and you're going to give me a report card of how well I've done. Maybe, maybe not. You want to learn how to change the behaviors. The Command People Leadership Operating System, the Behavior Leadership Operating System is the way to go. And all you have to do is hit me up on DM or head on over to bondgroupenterprises.com/command-leadership, and you're going to get information on what I'm talking about. Change the behavior, you change the team. Change the behavior, you change the productivity. Change the behavior, you change the way we do conflict, the way we communicate, the way we connect, and the way we collaborate together. Change the behaviors. But it starts with identifying what are the behaviors that we actually say that we want, and how do we go about getting those. The training might look productive. It might look really good on a check the box for HR that you had people that went through 5 courses this year to develop as leaders. But what's the outcome? If it's just about checking the box, great, write that check. If it's really about changing behaviors, let's start to look at it different and address it differently. Just like exercise, right? You got to get into the gym. You got to build those weights. You got to carry heavier weights. You got to lift heavier weights to build the muscle. This is exactly like that. How do you have conversations that are honest and constructive and uncomfortable and feel safe while you're having it? You learn those behaviors. You learn those traits. You learn how to execute that. You model it. You expect it. You follow it every time. Set people up for success. You got a winning team. Hey, thanks for joining me today in the Sandbox. I'm really grateful that you took time because I know that leadership is not something you're born with. It's something that you grow into. And you took time to grow into your next level of leadership in the Sandbox today. So thank you for that. I will see you next week for this conversation about behavioral mirroring in organizations. Behavioral mirroring in organizations. What the heck does that mean? Well, I might be bringing my little Sandbox mirror, and we're going to talk about it next week in the Sandbox. Hey, make it a great day. God bless you, and model the behaviors that you want. It will work for you. Take care. We'll see you next time.